All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great morning. Starting a little bit delayed, but what else is new, right? It's St. Patty's Day, so hopefully everybody's having a great St. Patty's Day. Wearing a little bit of green today myself. So let me just get my computer up and running because I have two computers here, as I always say, and I have my laptop that I can notice and see if there's any questions in the chat. So good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining again, St. Patrick's Day. And about St. Patrick's Day, today is Monday. And if you don't know the origins of St. Patrick's Day, it comes from the celebration of St. Patrick, believe it or not, a patron saint in Ireland. So it's national. It's also National Corned Beef and Cabbage Day for those of you that partake in corned beef and cabbage. It is celebrated on March 17th and dedicated to the simplicity of cured meat on a budget. So, corned beef and cabbage was created decades ago by Irish immigrants. The meal has since become a fan favorite, flavorful favorite in the United States, other parts of the world as well. Believe it or not, the dish was created because of budget issues. The Irish Americans just couldn't afford it. What they would like was pork and potatoes, so they couldn't afford pork and potatoes. So they decided to substitute beef for the pork and the cabbage instead of the potatoes. And then corned beef and cabbage has made it to this day. Everybody loves it. Pair it with some sour bread and any beverage of your choice, and you're good to go. So let's see. Oh, Bonnie's on board. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Bonnie. Thanks for joining us here. Uh, there were, you know, all weekend long, any kind of festivities for St. Patrick's Day here, Naperville, Aurora, Oswego, all around downtown Chicago. I was downtown Chicago with friends and got to see the annual dyeing of the Chicago River green. There's actually an article that came out. People were interested if the fish were affected by dyeing the Chicago River green, and they pretty much came up with, no, not really. The fish are fine. So in case you're wondering, so I was at the downtown Chicago one and also the snowy Sunday one, but there was a lot of people around. Certainly had a good time with regards to that. Just want to give a shout out. When you look at all these parades, and I look at them, especially the ones in Chicago that drew like tens of thousands of people, like a huge crowds. You just gotta give a pause and thank the police departments who put on and ensure that all these festivities are safe and they're always on the lookout. And so pretty much you need to just thank all our officers for all the work that they do dealing with all those individuals, especially all the individuals I saw in downtown Chicago. It is a handful, and certainly they do a lot of patrols and they work really hard to again keep the peace. So we cannot thank them enough. While today's St. Patty's Day, just words of wisdom for any day, any weekend that you find yourself enjoying a bit. Make sure that you're not speeding, you're not distracted driving, you're following all the traffic. Do not ever drink while impaired, alcohol, cannabis, or even prescription medications. You can get a driving while under the influence if you are on prescription medication and not supposed to be driving. It is so easy nowadays with ride shares, taxis, public transit. So just be responsible. If you're still celebrating today, celebrate responsibly, and make everything's safe this St. Patrick's Day. One of the things I wanted to touch on, and it's always, in our neck of the woods, it's always quite the season, but over the weekend there were four, I believe 4 tornadoes in the area. And particularly on Friday it was. And they touched down near Cedar Lake, which is located in Indiana's Lake County. That was estimated to be an EF1 on the enhanced scale, and that had 3-second wind gusts between 86 and 110 miles an hour. They had 3 other tornadoes, which is EF0, which isn't a zero. It means that the winds were between 65 and 85 miles an hour. So they touched down. One of them touched down in Yorkville, pretty close to our district in Kendall County. The other 2, one was in Hanover and the Bartlett, near the county line between Cook and DuPage County. And then the other one touched down near Schererville and Maryville in northwest Indiana. So certainly we had Lake County, Indiana, and Yorkville and Hanover and Bartlett area. So straight line winds, which is always something we always talk about tornado. We don't talk so much about straight line winds, but straight line winds are being blamed for storm damage that occurred in Elgin. If you look at the video, there's a video of a roof being ripped off a historic church. And so there's a possibilities that there might have been some additional tornadoes, but they don't really know. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. And the straight line wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, and they were all around the Chicago area, causing ComEd customers to lose electricity. So, and a lot of train damage. So just wanted to, give a shout out of the damage that occurred, but luckily individuals were not harmed. And so just had some fallen trees and some damages in the area. But certainly it's a season when warm air and cold air mix really forms our tornadoes and happens to that effect. So what's going on? First and foremost, I don't always do well, but March Madness is here. So kick off the week. I sometimes play with the brackets, I sometimes don't. I don't follow all the teams that well. So for me, it's kind of like a best guess. But this this month in March Madness tips it off. And we had the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. So they tipped off, starting one of the most thrilling events in sports. 68 men's tournament teams, 68 teams in the women's tournament for the national championship. So certainly everybody's talking about who to look at. When I look at the news, they're looking at Kansas, Duke, UConn are in the hunt. But you never know what always happens. I always like a little bit of a underdog story, to be quite honest. But it's always a good time. Women's March Madness is here as well. Like I said, just like the men's, women's basketball tournaments full swing. And who in the news is talking about the powerhouses that connect? South Carolina, Iowa, LSU, UConn. But again, underdogs are always fun. And then some of the good stars, biggest stars to watch. What I see on the news: Caitlin Clark, Iowa, Angela Reese, LSU, and Paige Buckner's UConn. I have to say, I do enjoy watching women's basketball. It is fun. I don't follow the teams, but I do enjoy watching the sport. You can watch them, the games for the women's March Madness, ESPN, ABC, ESPN2, and then there is an NCAA app. Of course, there's always an app for that. So going back, yeah. It's St. Patty's Day, so I do have a mug. It has some green in it, it has some brown on it. It's a handcrafted mug. For those, now that the spring is coming, I wanted to bring out a mug that talks about all the small shops that pop up in the farmers market and flea markets to support our small businesses. These are small businesses, individuals that are selling their goods. So this is a handcrafted mug and thought that it would be fun to bring it out. It has some green on it, matches the green on my shirt for St. Patrick's Day. So I wanted to bust out the mug. So, first day of spring, Thursday. Believe it or not, we are now going to be looking at the first day of spring. Can't wait it. Again, my favorite season. Um, so the equinox is on March 20th, also known as the vernal equinox. The spring equinox marks one of the two instances each year when our sun and the Earth's equator align. The spring equinox always falls on March 20th or 21st, occasionally on the 29th on a leap year. In 2025, it is this Thursday. Now, speaking of the sun and the moon, if you missed the lunar eclipse, the Adler Planetarium has it on their website. You can link to their YouTube channel, and they have the full eclipse there. The reason why I like the YouTube channel is you can just fast forward to the time when the eclipse happened, and you didn't have to be up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning to watch it. So, but check it out. I am going to share it in the Adler Planetarium YouTube channel. So certainly that's a good event. Now, with spring, and we've seen this already, popping up scams all over the place. We have another scam. So if the tollway sends you a text message, do not click on it. It's a scam. If you get any kind of thing on your text message, don't click on it. It's a scam. If need be, go to your computer, log on to your account as you always would, and check it out. So now, the Better Business Bureau is issue a warning for wedding scams. Top of Illinois scams, I tell you. They never rest. So the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, is warning couples and families about scams, substandard wedding vendors, and fraudulent online services, which is really, excuse me, it's really a big thing. And the number one thing is phony websites. So I know that shopping online is really important, but there are fraudulent online stores that sell wedding dresses and accessories, and they won't arrive or they aren't poor quality. Now, I will admit, it wasn't a scam, but I did see an ad, and I clicked on an ad, and I ordered an item. And the ad said made in the United States and all this stuff, and it was a subpar. So it really was not what was promised. Tried to return it. They said they had a return policy, but they didn't. Luckily, though, I paid for it from my credit card. Now, credit cards have better protections than debit cards because debit cards are linked directly to your checking account. So I was able to go through my credit card company, and they reversed the charges and then filed suit with the vendor, a very shady vendor. It's very easy to see the perfect dress, the perfect thing online, and it's a poor website, poor quality, phony websites, dresses that are nothing like the photos. That happen to individuals that I've known, paid a lot of money for dresses that the color was wrong. It was not like the pictures. Transportation program. Believe it or not, there are limo and scammers out there that will take deposits, but they fail to show up. So make sure you are checking the references and going with a reputable transportation individual. Again, bands and DJs, they tend to switch out. Never heard of that before, but apparently it's being reported. Photographer, make sure, again, you check references with regards to photographers, and then make sure when you're signing a contract, look for those hidden fees. And then the last one is bridal gown preservation scams. So fake preservation services, they damage, lose the gowns, just take your money and run. So certainly look into that. So red flags, if it's too good to be true, it is. Go right on, just keep on scrolling because it's not real. Vague contracts aren't real, pressure tactics, they're all warning signs. So as people are starting to plan their weddings. Just wanted to give that a little bit of that in Illinois. Now, one of the things I wanted to let you know is the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency announced updates to the state's vehicle emissions testing program. They're reopening a site in Chicago. That doesn't help us, but they are launching self-serve kiosks and mobile testing units starting March 17th. So we will keep you on board and informed of that. The Air Team test station is right here in Naperville. But looking at updating vehicle emissions testings, especially with these options with regards to new self-serve kiosks and mobile testing units, certainly that's going to help a lot. Now, I do want to say we were working with a veteran. So a veteran had to have an extended stay in the hospital for various health issues. Their plate expired. Their admissions, they needed an admissions test before they could get their registration. But in order to get your emissions test, your vehicle has to be registered. So it's this circular issue that can happen, especially when you have unexpected things come up, like extended hospital stays for your health. So if that happens, we can certainly help out the Secretary of State's office. We can work with them to get a temporary registration so that when the temporary registration goes into effect, then the car is in essence registered. Then you can get your emissions test, and then you can go back and get your tag permanently. So it is a bit of work, but we've been working with that. And if you have this situation, don't stress. We can help you out. My office can help out with a lot of things. Kwame Raoul, our Attorney General, he's joined his office. The AG's office is tasked with standing up for people in Illinois. So we're looking at other attorney generals filing lawsuits pretty much against the federal government. Most of them look at we have about a large amount of federal workers here in Illinois concerned about the unlawful federal layoffs, due process, which is really important. Department of Education employees is really important. A federal judge in Maryland temporarily blocked the layoffs that were coming. We're not against being efficient, but there's a process. There is a process. There are benchmarks. There is research that has to be done to show that these individuals are not needed. Things can be done more efficiently, but it just seems that it's not being well thought out. So another thing that we are working on is funding that was approved by Congress that should come to the state that this administration feels they don't have to follow through on. Congress is supposed to be the in the branch of government, the checks and balances in our branch of government. Congress is the one that's supposed to appropriate the funding. The executive branch is supposed to follow that. So what we're seeing is an executive branch in the presidency not following what Congress has passed. So then we have to sue, just like individuals sue the state, we have to sue the federal government. Unfortunately, it's not right that we have to do this, but that's what we're looking at right now. So we are looking at how that office, the AG's office, comes about. Attorney General Raoul, he's very passionate. In fact, he himself, as I said this before, is a birthright citizen, and certainly wants to make sure that we are preserving the constitutional rights of the people in the state of Illinois. So he's doing quite well. Looking again at the federal level, how it affects Illinois. So the Department of Education, the Department of Education has been around decades, and it has been earmarked for a cut of 1,300 federal employees. That's about half of their workforce. I was talking to an individual the other day, and they made the joke that on the federal level, it's like Thanos. If you watch the Marvel movies, just snaps their fingers and half of the workforce is gone. Um, so it's really a bit concerning. What does Illinois get from the Department of Education? So there was an article about this, and we wouldn't really feel that much with regards to the Sun Times did a good article on this. So we won't feel a lot, just to put it that way. In part, and this is here is a people always complain about property taxes being high, and property taxes are high because 78% of that goes to the schools. Property taxes is the number one most stable way to fund schools. And so now we are looking at, in Illinois, how is that going to work out? Well, the president is wanting to reduce the workforce from 4,133 workers to 2,183 workers. Now, how does that affect Illinois? 50 employees are leaving the Chicago office of the Education Department, nearly all through layoffs. So we're looking at this and then looking at also layoffs for eliminating Chicago's Office of Civil Rights, 107 around the country, where all positions are being cut. So there's a lot of things that are affecting Illinois. However, when going back to what I just said, that our school districts mostly come from property taxes and the state. So what we are seeing is other states would be hurt more than Illinois. And federal funding makes up about 16%, for example, of Chicago Public Schools operating budget. Now, it's a lot of money, $1.3 billion of the $8.4 billion, but it's not as much as going to be impacted in other states. We have some federal grants that target like adolescent health, career and technical education, mental health services. The bulk of that comes from Title I and IDEA. So that money would mostly harm school districts serving students of low income families or students with disabilities, which is, it's sad, but cutting funding for children's school, it really does affect like everybody. It doesn't seem to be about efficiency. It doesn't seem about creating jobs. It just seems that, they just want to, for some reason or another, as was mentioned, just stop spending government money. So individuals that want things to stop spending government money, I've said this before, government spends money on those most fragile amongst us. We try to be a community, or I thought we were going to try to be a state or a nation that looks out for those most vulnerable. So what's happening is when we went through this in the state level with Governor Bruce Rauner, who cut funding for a lot. Where did it hurt? It hurt the least amongst us. I mean, the most vulnerable, and that's what some really frustrating. And I know many people are fine with that. Cut government spending, and it's true. Many people are fine with that because they might not have um, somebody in need in their family. I mean, that would be wonderful, right? Somebody that doesn't have a disability in their family, or they don't. They're not low income, or they don't need special education programs, early intervention for kids that if they get early intervention, they can be streamlined in by second grade. But if they don't get early intervention, then some children might be in special education programs their whole lives. So this is what's going to impact. It's not going to impact individuals that obviously don't need anything, any assistance from the government, but it's going to certainly impact schools, because I know that schools want to do the best for all the children and not just focus on those kids that don't need supports and don't need help. So how's it going to impact, again, our Illinois schools? So Illinois as a whole, we received $3.5 billion in federal funding. And like I said, this money is pass-through money, so it's not really part of our it's part of our budget, but we pass it through. So it goes federal government straight to the schools, and then the state gives about $9 billion to funding our schools. The state does, and then money comes from property taxes. So we do have diversification in our funding streams, which is very good. But again, special education programs are most likely going to be cut, reduced, or we're going to look at other means of funding it. Low income and rural school districts. As you know, Illinois is a agricultural state. We have a lot of rural areas in the South. They're going to be affected by this. And then Title I schools that support disadvantaged students, like I said, low income students. So we heard from some educators, because the state always listens to those that are actually teaching our students in the state. One education support specialist said Title I funding supports 65 paraprofessionals who work with special needs students. And without that funding, those jobs are going to be cut. So paraprofessionals who work with special needs students are ones that help them in and out of their wheelchair, help them throughout the day. I've seen it when I've done school visits. They pour their heart and soul into working with these children. We heard from a special education resource teacher, students in her district, they depend on free meals and, to eat. I've seen that here in East Aurora as well, and that could be cut. And then overall, we hear from educators that just says the uncertainty from Washington is mentally exhausting. In this case, for educators, but all around, I think for individuals in very different walks of life. Many people, as I've said, we've had about 80,000 federal workers here in Chicago, around Chicago. Those families are very exhausted as well. So again, we have joined 21 other attorney generals in filing a lawsuit to block the layoffs with regards to the Department of Education. And certainly there on the state level, there's no replacement plan for lost federal funding. That's not something in our budget. So if they're gone, unfortunately, they're gone. That's just the world we're working on right now. I'm just gonna pause. Roger is joining us, top of the morning. And then Dan and Bob Dunn are watching as well. Thanks for joining us for our update. Not a great update, but what can you do? But moving right along, one of the things that I didn't even realize existed. Now, I guess I didn't realize this existed because I guess I don't try to get into really high-end, hard to get bookings restaurants. But of course, Chicago has some amazing top-end restaurants. And there is believe it or not, a black market on restaurant reservations. Didn't even realize this. State Representative Margaret Croak has launched a bill to combat the resale of restaurant reservations. So now that restaurant reservations are electronic, you can go on Open Table, and I don't even know if these top restaurants are on an Open Table, but whatever platform you can book top restaurants reservations on, there are third-party platforms that are called Appointment Trader. I didn't even realize this. So these third-party platforms, they sell hard-to-get bookings at Chicago's top restaurants, often for hundreds of dollars. So it's almost like ticket scalping, but it's like, hey, you wanna you wanna go to this very high-end restaurant, and you can't get reservations for 6 months. Guess what? There are third-party platforms. So these platforms allow users to buy and sell restaurant reservations, sometimes for exorbitant prices, like I said, hundreds of dollars. Scalpers are using bots to book reservations at high demand restaurants. And some of these high demand restaurants are Armitage Ale House, Bavetti's, and Monteverde. And so then the restaurants think they're completely booked, and real customers can't book the tables. And then if the reservation doesn't sell, it either results in a no-show or it gets canceled, and that directly hurts the restaurant as well. So what the bill does is would ban third-party platforms from selling, advertising, or promoting restaurant reservations without written agreements from the restaurants. Violators could face $1,000 in fines per infraction, and certainly, the Illinois Restaurant Association supports this measure, calling scalpers predatory third-party sellers. So we have worked with other states, as we do a lot on our legislation. So California, Nevada, and Florida are considering legislation modeled after New York, which has already moved to outlaw the practice. So it is really, really problematic for restaurant-heavy cities like Chicago. But certainly can expand into suburban areas as well, looking at making the law statewide. So we want to support all we can. Restaurants really were hit hard during COVID, and this is just one other thing that we can do to help them out. Certainly looking forward to that. And then I've been reading about this. I don't know if I talked about this before, but artificial intelligence, mental health, and insurance decisions, believe it or not. So Representative Bob Morgan has a bill to regulate artificial intelligence in healthcare, specifically in online therapy services and health insurance decision making. So what happens, and you probably know this, is that your doctor submits to your insurance a line of treatment that he thinks will help you out, and this is your doctor. And then the insurance company comes back and denies it and says, no, you need to do a lesser amount of treatment or physical therapy or something to that effect. Well, what we are looking at is now the insurance company, wanting to expand their profitability, is now engaging in artificial intelligence to make the decisions about that line of care that your doctor has set in for approval. And really, the bill seeks to prevent artificial intelligence from making unfair or biased decisions about a person's coverage eligibility. And then the other bill, they both passed out of the insurance company, our healthcare licensing and insurance company regulates artificial intelligence in online mental health services. So you need to have ethical and responsible use of AI in virtual therapy platforms and not 100% AI in virtual therapy platforms. This is just overall a no-brainer with some of these things. And then we are still looking at, I believe, about intoxicating hemp products. So certainly we are looking at some oversight and some rules. There was a bill last year, and this year, again, working on this bill. I can't recall who is carrying the bill. This year it was Leader Ken Buckner last year. But we are looking at regulating intoxicating hemp. Always be careful on, again, what you're using. Some of these things, like the intoxicating hemp products, and some other things, like herbs and stuff to that effect can be bought. They're not tested by the FDA, and certainly you need to be careful about that. But we are looking at hopefully getting some rules into effect with regards to that. Um, and then looking at a process, an automated system. So right now, um, if a criminal record is sealed, it's a petition-based system. It's complex. It's kind of confused, and there are eligible individuals that just can't take advantage of that. So there is an initiative to create a new automated systems, and I just wanted to put out, um, why would somebody need a record sealed? What would that be? Well, the individuals, for example, who were arrested and never convicted. So they arrested, there were no charges, they weren't convicted. They still have a record. They have a criminal record. It was not ever acted upon. So those individuals could petition right now to have their records sealed, but they're looking at a new automated system. Um, if an individual had a misdemeanor conviction, a smaller conviction, they're eligible to seal their record after 2 years after they serve their sentence. If they had a felony, they're eligible after 3 years after they serve their sentence. So this is already current law. What we would do is just again be more efficient and create an automatic system that can work with the court backlogs and the long wait times. So again, trying to get more efficiency, it would cost less and really help people out. When we look at this, you'd say, well, why would you do this? Well, number one, small businesses. I mean, small businesses employ a lot of people, give people a leg up, a handout, and it certainly helps out. And so 85% of small business owners agree that fixing the system would help them with hiring and recruitment. And then, of course, the courts, it would save them a lot of money. And then just allowing individuals to get access of jobs as well. So certainly trying to be more efficient with regards to that. And then a couple more things just to put on your radar. Bipartisan bills. So Representative Laha is a Republican, but I like her bill too because it's all about the policy in my book instead of the party. So House Bill 1788 is a bill that is aimed at expanding accessibility in outdoor spaces, and it passed out of committee. So this is a great bill that looks to prioritize projects that exceed federal ADA standards. Use of innovative designs, materials, and technologies to enhance accessibility and usability, and then focuses on universal park and playground design, ensuring all children, regardless of ability, can fully participate. And I know there's like one or two parks like this in the Aurora area, certainly supporting it, making sure that everybody can enjoy the outdoors and have things that are accessible. That's not to us as a community, that's what we should do. So accessibility is not a luxury, but it's a necessity. And parks, trails, and recreational spaces should be available for those, regardless of ability. And then looking at some of the bills, a little bit along that route, I had a bill in committee that talked about disabled students. Particularly, there was a couple articles about students who got disabled placards for one reason or another. One student in I believe in our area, a little bit north of here, had a serious concussion and got a temporary parking placard. from the Secretary of State while he was healing from his concussion. The school district would not allow him to park in the handicap spots on the school property. There was another article that I read about same situation, not in our immediate area, but same situation. The student got a temporary handicap parking placard for an injury, and again, the school would not accommodate him. Eventually the parents had to sue the school district, and then the articles were written about this, and then the school district reversed their decision. So, working on a bill, it got out of committee to ensure that students with disability placards are allowed to park in the handicap spots or close to the doors with our schools. And just looking at some word changes, might have to come back with a slight amendment, but overall, the issue, what the school district said is there's a lottery to park on campus, and this student did not get picked in the lottery. Therefore, he could not park on campus, regardless if he had a handicap placard or not. He had a verified injury. The Secretary of State verified the injury. The Secretary of State gave him the placard. He should be able to park close to or in the handicap parking spot. So working on that bill, then working on another bill called Honoring Our Heroes Way. It's a program from the Illinois Department of Transportation that allows you to designate a roadway for Gold Star families to honor our heroes. Last year, I had 4 resolutions. So last year, I had 4 resolutions that came to me to honor missing in action individuals that never made it home. It was from the Gold Star families of the area. Rolling Thunder came to me, and we were honoring individuals that never made it home. One from Korea War, a couple from Vietnam War, and passed it over to the Senate, and the Senate didn't want to consider those resolutions that would honor these individuals. Our POW MIA is supposed to be never forgotten, but because the Senate did not feel that honoring individuals who passed away, what I was told, over 20 years ago would not be considered. Now, I served 30 years ago, that's how old I am, and that's Desert Storm. So, for what it's worth, refiled the bills again and hopefully pass them again. And until the Senate decides that their unofficial rule is really insulting to Gold Star families. So, however, there's another way to honor our families. This does have a cost to it. So when we do it in the House and in the Senate, then the cost is borne by the Department of Transportation. When they go through the Honoring Our Heroes Way system, there is a cost affiliated with it. Now, thankfully, very generous people in the community have stepped up to honor the cost of the 4 individuals that Rolling Thunder had put into. But what we found out is that individuals who died in action, they're normally very young individuals, most of the time, not all the time, but they don't have any family, and sometimes can't contact immediate family member for the application. So what this bill does is it changes a little bit of the program. The program still allows Gold Star families, family members to petition the Illinois Department of Transportation to place an honorary sign along state highways. But it also provides for state and federally chartered veteran service organizations to be able to petition as well on behalf of the individual. Certainly this helps out if there was an individual that passed away, during Korea, maybe even during World War II. And the federally chartered veteran service organization or a state chartered veteran service organization wants to make sure that that individual is never forgotten, even though all their family has passed away. They can now engage after this law gets passed. Can now engage in petitioning the Illinois Department of Transportation to place an honorary sign on the state highways. Certainly that would help out a lot. With the budget cycle, I do have a bill to help the King County State's Attorney's Office for um, operations for like human trafficking and some of the important stuff they do for King County. So working on that. That's still in committee. It will go through the budget process, so it won't come out of committee. What we do when we look at budget bills such as that one, it all gets considered in committee and then it all gets put in the budget. So, but we have to do individual bills to pretty much justify the expenditure. And then another budget bill that I have is a $1 million for non-traditional childcare bills. Non-traditional childcare, I submitted this last year as well, helps out our individuals in the trades, helps our individuals at police and fire, because not everybody works an 8 to 5 job and not everybody has family members that can watch their children that they love. So another bill with regards to that as well, just to do our part and to help out where we can. So there's a couple small budget bills that I have, not a lot. And then I did pass, since I'm the chair of pensions and I'm on the pensions committee, I did pass out of committee a couple cleanup bills with regards to Chicago police pension. The Chicago Police Pension Board is evenly split, 4-4. So a bill to put in an extra individual there to make it an odd number, as a lot of boards are an odd number, to really eliminate the tie vote. Because if it's a tie vote, then everything fails and they just can't get things going in the right direction. And also to have quorum issues, there are some quorum issues as well. And then a bill to help out individuals that, Chicago Police and Downstate Police, which is everybody pretty much outside Chicago, are two different police organizations. So helping with them, if a police officer cannot return to work as a police officer, then they should be properly classified as disabled beyond disability, because they can't be a police officer. So, but we have to put some of that language in law in order to get that acknowledged. And then also, if the police officer has to sue the pension board and then it showed that he should be undisabled and they had denied him that the police officer should be able to recoup their legal fees, because it can be expensive to sue the city or the pension board. And certainly we want to make sure that everybody has access to being able to get what should be their right. And if they are disabled, make sure that the pension board really looks at all the facts. And then lastly, we have a bill, I've talked about this before. Sometimes we have to pass laws that do absolutely nothing for the individual people in Illinois, but it has to be updated for the functionality of government. So I have we call these bills technical bills, just technical cleanup bills or technical bills. And so the Department of Revenue, believe it or not, I didn't believe it until they came to me. The Department of Revenue seeks to clarify surplus fund transfers in Illinois. So in all the state statutes and all the state laws we had, there was no real definition of surplus when it came to the income tax refund fund. And so what we're looking at is defining surplus as cash balances remaining at the end of the fiscal year minus any amounts already allocated for specific transfers. Simple. But these are things we have to do, and these are things we have to put into the law on how, when we budgeted and we've budgeted balanced budgets, budgets that were below revenues, and if revenues come in, then we have a surplus. But believe it or not, we didn't have a definition of surplus on the books. So certainly that's a bill that working on in committee amongst other things. And then just a touch base on an issue. A couple of years ago, maybe even last year, we lifted the law that had a moratorium on small modular reactors, SMRs, within the state. So we lifted that bar, that moratorium. In essence, anybody that knows, that's been in the Navy, knows that aircraft carriers and submarines are powered by small modular nuclear reactions. So there is a bill to look at lifting the moratorium on large modular reactions, in part because we've advanced so much when these rules were in place. We've advanced so much in technology. And then secondly, it allows us to commission a study to look at potential developments with regards to not only SMRs, but also large modular reactors, LMRs as well. Now, individuals are, some people don't like nuclear, totally understand that, but let's put this in the frame of, what does this mean? Large nuclear reactors or large modular reactors take tens of, sometimes even 20 years to get through all the permitting process to get up and running. So it really truly is something that, I might not ever see. But to start the planning process, to start the studies, we need to look at this. Now we also need to recognize that, obviously Illinois is one of the leading states in environmental, wind and solar. And then we're looking at battery storage, like I talked before. But we do have nuclear reactors that power everybody's houses. The nuclear reactors are on all the time. They're on when the sun doesn't shine, when the wind doesn't blow, when it's too cold. And believe it or not, years ago when it was 50 degrees below zero here, the only power generation that was working was nuclear. So we can't, although, in a perfect world, we'd have various different kinds of power. We have the various different kinds of power, but they're not as reliable as nuclear. So certainly, it's something that we as a state have to look at in order for power, in order for people to have their air conditioners, people to have heat, and to ensure that the grid is doing what we need people to do, such as this computer, such as these data centers that are taking a lot of power. There is a lot of power that is being needed now, and we need to look at all avenues for that. So just wanted to give a little touch on that. There was a little bit of concern on this, but I would not be very concerned. And we're looking at a long process to go in and get these reactors online. And to be quite honest, with the amount of people getting fired from the federal government, I don't even know if it's going to happen, if there's going to be people at the EPA, the national EPA, that are going to be able to look at these, because we're very uncertain at what's going on the national level. But it would allow us to look at, with the EPA, with the federal government, with regards to looking at rules, looking at new nuclear power, and making sure that at least here in Illinois, we don't have rolling blackouts. Those have been in other states. We have reliable power. We don't have the problems that other states have, that haven't invested in diversifying their energy sources. So we're doing pretty good at that. So we're looking really closely with regards to that. So we'll wrap up St. Patty's Day. Just looking at some good news. The Chicago metro area and Cook County are growing. So just wanting to say that nationally, we have added the most total residents from last year, according to the new Census Bureau data. So certainly, hold on, what's it? So certainly that's a good thing. So we're growing in our area. And then I already touched on the fish don't seem to notice about dyeing the river green. Just want to give a shout out again to the plumbers and pipe fitters. They certainly know what they're doing, and they did a great job. If you hadn't noticed it, check out online. It is a wonderful St. Patty's shade of green. So with that, that's our update. That's our Coffee with Kiffy update. If you have anything else, again, please reach out to my office if you have any questions or concerns. Now, next week, next Monday, March 24th, we're going to have a guest speaker. So from time to time, we have a guest speaker zoom in and talk about things that is in their field of expertise. So we have Jamie Neely. She's the executive director of the Federation of Women Contractors. So she's leading efforts to expand vendor diversity, advocate for women in the construction, and push for more work opportunities and equitable opportunities. So I think this is going to be a fun conversation to listen to what she has to say about women in contracting. You don't hear it much, but I think it's going to be great. Women's History Month. And so with that, have a great rest of the day. I do believe that the weather's going to improve a little bit. So hopefully with spring in the next couple of days, we won't have any more snow. Fingers crossed, right? But with that, take care. Have a great day. Have a great week. And we will be on our Coffee with Kiffy again next Monday. So take care. Oh, yeah. One more thing. I didn't zoom off yet, but we do have our question of the day, every question of the week, every email question, which I wanted to leave with that. So I just saw my note here. We asked people on our email list about high schools starting at 8:45. There's a bill to say that high schools have to start 8:45 or later, not 7:20 like it is here. And 56% of residents said yes, they agree with that. 43% said no. So with that, I'm going to leave you off now. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.